From the cold-blooded murder of a sad dad to the obliteration of innocent sea creatures, here are some deaths from The Boys that absolutely kill us. Although The Boys has a very impressive ensemble cast, Huey is essentially the main character in the first season. Jack Quaid gives a very empathetic performance that viewers are able to relate to. Huey is an average guy, but an act of violence draws him into the world of superheroes. In the opening moments of the series, Huey flirts with his girlfriend, Robin Ward, as they discuss his plans to ask for a raise at work so they can move in together. Unfortunately, their relationship is not destined to last. When Huey and Robin are walking down the street, A-Train runs with his super speed through the city and accidentally crashes into Robin, instantly killing her. Huey is showered in his girlfriend's blood, completely shocked and heartbroken.
Robin!
This was the perfect way to start the series. It immediately established that superheroes and The Boys are not accountable for collateral damage. Considering that the characters in the MCU and DCEU are often ignorant of the damage that they inflict on civilians, it was important for The Boys to emphasize this point. Robin's death is the most crucial moment in Huey's initial character arc. He has to question everything that he knows about superheroes and the toll of revenge. Huey serves as the perfect audience avatar for the show, since the viewers get to learn more about the Seven at the same time that he does, as he struggles to deal with Robin's death. If you're looking for a superhero franchise with more permanent stakes, look no further than The Boys. The Prime Video original series is unafraid to kill off major superhero characters in the most grisly way possible, and they rarely come back to life. At the beginning of the series, the superhero Translucent is introduced as one of the main heroes of the Seven. He is immediately an unlikable character. Translucent uses his ability to turn invisible so that he can creep on women, and ultimately discovers Huey has planted a bug in Vought Tower. The Soup ends up getting captured by Butcher and Huey after he attacks Huey at work.
How'd you know the electric could do the job?
Skin's carbon. Highly conductive.
Huey is just being introduced to the extreme ways of Butcher, Frenchie, and MM. He's not an inherently violent person. However, rage builds up inside Huey as Translucent attempts to manipulate him into allowing him to escape. Before Translucent can walk out the door, Huey detonates an explosive device that was planted inside the Soup's body, killing him instantly and leaving Huey covered in blood and slightly traumatized. The Deep has one of the most interesting character arcs on The Boys. In the beginning, he is about as unappealing as you can get. He tries to convince Annie that he is the second in command of the Seven, ranking only behind Homelander. He assaults her in what remains one of the show's most disturbing moments.
You and me, just roll with the punches. For like 3 minutes, maybe. It's not a big deal.
After Annie ultimately reveals that she was assaulted during her speech at the Believe Expo, the Deep is forced to go on a sabbatical from the Seven. The Deep then sets off on a quest for redemption and is forced to reckon with his past behavior. Although the Deep is still a toxic character, he cares about the aquatic creatures that he can communicate with. In the episode The Female of the Species, the Deep attempts to rescue a horny bottlenose dolphin from captivity.
I like you too. You know that. Let's not, rush into anything too fast.
Unfortunately, he gets into a car accident, and the innocent dolphin goes flying out of his window. If you were shocked by this moment, you are not alone. Chase Crawford, the actor who plays the Deep, said he was actually worried that the scene would be cut from the episode in an interview with comicbook.com. As if the dolphin wasn't sad enough, here's another one. In the Season 2 episode Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men, the Deep is still trying to prove that he is a hero. Butcher, Huey, and their friends pilot a speedboat, fleeing from the Seven and aiming to escape through a tunnel. The Deep imagines himself standing defiantly against them, riding a giant whale in a moment of triumph. Unfortunately for him, Butcher is not threatened by the Deep's giant new animal ally. He drives the speedboat directly into the whale, impaling the creature through the belly. The whale, which the Deep names Lucy, is instantly killed. Although this is only a brief moment in the episode, it actually required some of the show's most complex VFX work. It took the Boys' production crew about 5 months to complete. One of the most amusing aspects of The Boys are the references to current Marvel and DC properties. One of the ways that The Boys has lampooned these popular franchises is by bringing in actors that previously played different superheroes. Season 2 of The Boys saw the debut of the superhero known as Lamplighter, who has the ability to control fire with his mind. Lamplighter is played by Shawn Ashmore, who starred in the X-Men film franchise as the mutant Iceman, whose superpower is, you guessed it, being able to freeze things. Unfortunately, Ashmore did not become a recurring face on The Boys, because he quickly meets a grisly end. Although Lamplighter and Huey were able to open up to each other, Lamplighter is overwhelmed with sadness when he sees a mural of the Seven, and explains why he really became part of the team.
I just wanted to make my dad proud.
Lamplighter is then consumed by his own flames. Neither the audience nor Huey have much time to process his death. It's a sad moment because Lamplighter is one of the few superheroes who appear to have regrets over his misdeeds. Although the first season of The Boys was snubbed by most major award shows, Season 2 received an Emmy nomination for Best Drama Series. It was exciting to see such a subversive series receive recognition for the highest honor in the television industry. However, it's unfortunate that Anthony Starr's performance as Homelander was not recognized in the acting categories. Homelander is one of the most complex characters on television right now. Each season of The Boys has continued to develop his character arc in an interesting way. Although Homelander is completely unlikable, The Boys does a great job in making him vulnerable.
You're pathetic.
Homelander's childhood trauma was explored through his relationship with Madelyn Stillwell. Madelyn served as one of the most powerful leaders at Vought and worked closely with the Seven during their operations. However, Madelyn's relationship with Homelander went beyond their professional associations. Homelander is incredibly reckless, but Madelyn is able to keep him under control. Homelander develops a strange, disturbing Oedipal relationship with Madelyn. However, Homelander is ultimately unable to control his rage. After he discovers that Madelyn has been lying to him, Homelander kills his lover using his laser eyes. The Boys force his characters to make unlikely partnerships in order to defeat their enemies. While Butcher has no love for the government, he reluctantly works with CIA Deputy Director Susan Raynor in order to further his cause. Butcher asks for Susan's help as he knows that she has the resources to protect MM and Huey's families. Susan agrees to help Butcher, but tells him the CIA cannot bring Homelander to justice since he's obviously too powerful and well-respected to be defeated. She fears that going after him will put everybody at risk. In the Season 2 episode, The Big Ride, Susan reassures Butcher, Huey, Frenchie, and MM that their families are still safe. However, she says that a series of mysterious deaths are linked to an enigmatic new superpowered terrorist that she is close to tracking down. Before Susan can reveal any more critical information, her head suddenly explodes and splatters the other characters with blood. Susan's death has remained one of the most unexpected moments in the series so far. In many television shows, the most shocking moments of any given season are saved for the last episode. Although The Boys Season 2 finale, What I Know, certainly had no shortage of surprises, the biggest twist of the season actually occurred at the end of the penultimate episode, Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker. Throughout the season, Huey, Butcher, and Annie have been trying to expose Vought Industries' corrupt actions to the public. They plan to reveal Vought's connections to Compound V to the media. Huey finds a potential ally in Congresswoman Victoria Newman. In Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker, Victoria presides over a congressional hearing where retired Vought scientist Jonah Vogelbaum is scheduled to testify against Vought. However, the hearing is thrown into chaos by an unexpected attack. Just as Jonah prepares to give his testimony, his head suddenly explodes. He's not the only victim of the attack, as several other attendees' heads also shockingly explode. Initially, Victoria is a sympathetic victim in this crisis. However, What I Know reveals an even more shocking twist. Victoria actually has superpowers that she is hiding from the public. She's the head popper. The Boys does a great job at bringing back former movie stars and giving them amusing roles. Haley Joel Osment was one of the biggest child stars of the 1990s, co-starring in hits like Forrest Gump, The Sixth Sense, Pay It Forward, AI Artificial Intelligence, and Secondhand Lions. Osment appears in a funny extended role on The Boys as the character Charles, who is also known as the celebrity superhero Mesmer, or the Mesmerizer. Mesmer frequently appears at fan conventions and signs autographs.
What number am I thinking of?
867?
Amazing.
He agrees to help Butcher and offers him knowledge about Homelander. Mesmer hopes that he'll be able to exchange the information in order to reunite with his daughter, Cleo. However, Mesmer's alliance with Butcher is short-lived. After Mesmer betrays the Boys by informing Homelander about their operations, Butcher brutally smashes the washed-up soup's head into a sink over and over and kills him. The Boys Season 3 gets off to a strong start, with a death that is climactic in more than one way. The first episode, Payback, reintroduces the character Termite. Similar to Ant-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Termite has the ability to shrink his body. While Ant-Man uses his powers to save his daughter and get into comic misadventures, Termite's activities are much more mature. He shrinks down to an insect size in order to pleasure his lover by literally entering him with his now tiny body. If this wasn't graphic enough, Termite's hot and heavy evening quickly gets much more disturbing. He accidentally sneezes, which swiftly turns him back into his regular size. As a result, he obliterates his lover from the inside out. A shocked Frenchie walks into the aftermath. Showrunner Eric Kripke explained the meticulous visual and practical effects that were used in the sequence in an interview with Entertainment Weekly. During the interview, Carl Urban joked, "Going into a third season, you come to build up a certain desensitization to some of the more graphic content." Every fan will likely agree that Black Noir had one of the most tragic deaths on The Boys thus far. After spending the previous 2 years shrouded in mystery, Season 3 allowed viewers to finally sympathize with Black Noir, who deals with his long-simmering trauma in a disturbing animated sequence. During it, we learned that when Noir first joined the superhero team known as Payback, he fought alongside Soldier Boy, who bullied him throughout their time together. Black Noir ultimately betrayed Soldier Boy and handed him over to the Russians at the behest of Stan Edgar. Later, Noir became Homelander's closest ally and advisor and teams up with him in Season 3 to bring Soldier Boy down. However, their alliance is not destined to last. Homelander learns that he was made from Soldier Boy's DNA. In a sense, Soldier Boy is his father. Black Noir knew this and hid it from Homelander for his entire life. Even though Black Noir was trying to protect his friend from a potentially abusive parent, Homelander needed a father during his childhood and is distraught to the point of tears. And so, he rips out Black Noir's internal organs and leaves him to die. Homelander isn't averse to killing members of the Seven, of course, but Black Noir was his one real friend. The Boys has had more brutal deaths, but seeing Homelander's blind rage unleashed on his most trusted companion is truly unnerving.